Xbox has announced Project Helix, and it's gonna be great. Ignore the fact that it sounds unnecessarily evil and bad. It's probably just a coincidence, like Umbrella. In any case, this is Microsoft's new attempt to get the gaming market back on track and become a major player once again. And that's a blatant lie, by the way, and I could actually prove it, that all of this is a lie. Because this is led by everyone's favorite, not Nepo baby, diversity hire, Asha Sharma. And, let's just get into it and see what's happening.
So it begins. It would seem as though next gen is coming sooner rather than later, at the very least for Xbox, with Microsoft having officially teased the codename of the next generation Xbox. It's currently titled Project Helix, and it's a pretty small tease, but a tease nonetheless. It's an official, kind of nudge that next generation Xbox is something that Microsoft is pushing for pretty heavily. This is the trailer that they released for it.
Yeah, not menacing at all. Because Microsoft is not one of those companies that's trying to create an AI god. Yeah, not menacing in the slightest.
So yeah, not a whole lot. It's a name that does, however, kind of give you hints as to what to expect from the console. Here's Asha Sharma's statement on Project Helix. Quote, "Great start to the morning with Team Xbox, where we talked about our commitment to the return of Xbox, including Project Helix, the codename for our next generation console. Project Helix will lead in performance and play your Xbox and PC games. Looking forward to chatting about this more with partners and studios at my first GDC next week."
Yeah, so this thing is going to be filled to the brim with AI because Microsoft have understood what gamers want, what gamers need, and that is not in this case Brando, which is slightly confusing because it has electrolytes and everyone needs electrolytes. But instead of Brando, they have decided that we need AI. I'm sure this is not going to have Copilot. Which, by the way, I figured out that shit has actually been uploading my files without my permission. Because yesterday my internet just got slow for no reason in a very strange way. And I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. Better turn off. And it instantaneously became normal. Yes. So, no more Copilot. Welcome the new 15 different AIs that are going to make your experience worse in every conceivable way. Because, obviously. To be honest, I actually have kind of recently rethought my position about these companies and AI, because it actually does make sense that all of these companies want to do AI. Because you see, they think that we're complete morons. They legitimately think that our IQ starts and ends with a 4. And it's unironic. These people legitimately think that we're idiots. This is why you're seeing World of Warcraft puzzle quests that are literally click on a cog that spins the other way around. You have seen it. You know what I'm talking about. It's abysmally insulting to intelligence. But these people think that that's how it is. Because they are full of themselves and they design verse and verse products over time. Again, the reason everyone hated... was it Windows 11? Whatever. One of those Windowses was because they literally took a diversity hire. And by the way, if you don't know this story, again, real life is way crazier than fiction. Keep in mind. The reason why everyone hated that recent Windows is because they took a diversity hire. First of all, a blatant diversity hire. Who had never used a computer in her life, obviously her life, and then they let her design the UI. Never used a computer, has no idea what it is, and now she's designing how your experience is gonna feel, because obviously that's the best person for the job. And this is why everyone hated the UI, because it was designed by someone who doesn't even use a computer. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. And this is, and you know, Microsoft obviously is too big. Obviously, they're doing everything right. And when something like this happens, it's not them wrong, it's you being wrong. So the fact that you don't like Microsoft's great innovations and shit means that you're just too stupid. So they need, from their perspective, it actually makes so much sense that they need to make AI because you're too stupid on your own to actually properly use any of their things. It is the most blatant insanity that we can actually see in the modern age.
So it seemed as though aspects of this next generation console, that's going to be a console PC hybrid, will be showcased to developers in order to prime them to start getting ready for the release of this machine in the hopes that they can get as much developer support.
Oh, and I forgot. The reason why this is a lie, because you don't announce a project like this when it's initially just being started. So this was something under Phil Spencer that happened. This was Phil Spencer, and now Ash Sharma is just taking over and saying, "Hey guys, I just made this." So if you are thinking that Phil Spencer did a bad job, and well, this is just more Phil Spencer. If you're very unhappy with what he did before, this is just more him. This is not actually even her. Now, granted, there's going to be definitely her sprinkle of AI on it, but still.
As possible. Now, the name Project Helix already kind of tells you what this machine is all about. The fact that it is a helix with two
Evolution.
kind of elements intersecting with each other, it very much symbolizes the crossover between console and PC. And we've already seen hints of that with the Xbox Ally handheld, which very much kind of showcases what the next gen Xbox.
I love how all of these big companies also need to, call everything that they do something grandiose, like Ball, Galaxy, Helix, and shit like that. It's crazy. They're definitely not dangerous.
Is going for, as stated by Sarah Bond when she worked at the company, where she said that the Xbox Ally does provide a look into what they're pushing for with the future of Xbox. And what the Xbox Ally does is that at its core, it's basically a Windows PC. But on top of that is this Xbox overlay, this Xbox full screen experience, as it's called, that aims to provide some.
I'm sure I'm gonna love it. Because, everyone loved the Xbox gaming thing on PC when it was.
Something, a user interface that is really accessible via your classic like controller inputs. But the issue with the Xbox Ally is that ultimately it's still running on Windows, whereas something like the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine will have an operating system that is dedicated to ensuring you can get to your games as quickly as possible with as little friction as possible. Windows is still ultimately just bloated with all of the various functionalities that it was meant to serve. It's not just a gaming device, it's also a PC. And also, Copilot is something that Microsoft is trying to shove into Windows, despite many users complaining about not only the fact that it just doesn't work particularly well, but people don't want Copilot to be at the forefront of their Windows experience. Copilot, for those who don't know,
what a bunch of idiots.
Being the AI feature that Microsoft is trying to implement into Windows to make it an agentic OS where you can just like issue commands to the AI and they will do the tasks for you and find information for you. But so far, that's proven to be a very unreliable technology. And then on top of that, with Asha Sharma being like a Microsoft AI executive before she became head of Xbox, there are concerns as to how much.
Well, to be fair, Nepo baby and then into talentless AI development. Again, dude, if you think that this has any shot of being, go look up Ash Sharma. She actually has done a bunch of interviews, a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of stuff. Like, listen to her speak. She barely has intelligible sentences, let alone real fucking ideas.
Microsoft intends to lean on AI for Xbox. In fact, recently we've already seen patents of an AI-powered Xbox helper system that basically plays games for you when you're in like a difficult segment.
We talked about this yesterday, that Microsoft is patenting a thing that's gonna play the game for you because, again, you're too stupid to play the game. Oh my god.
It's that you don't have to look at guides and instead the AI will just kind of do it for you. But a lot of people have qualms with that because it almost like defeats the purpose of gaming.
Yeah, because it's probably gonna be like, oh, you're not moving for 5 seconds. Let me do this for you because you're stupid. It. How do you not hate this?
Overcoming of challenges, the fact that you're not doing it yourself, but you're letting AI just kind of take over for you, foregoing all like semblances of overcoming challenges, and gaming being such an
even DSP would not accept this. Asmongold would, but DSP would never.
Active experience, having a feature that turns it passive just seems counterintuitive to the medium itself. And so there's still questions as to how the Xbox Project Helix version of this operating system will look like, but it will require a lot of fine-tuning and refinement and like slimming down and making sure that it is optimized for gaming and not just be like a Windows machine with all the friction points that come with Windows, such as the various updates and restarts and setting up that you have to do. That was a big friction point for the Xbox Ally.
Oh, by the way, I recently got an update that just updated automatically and decided to restart my PC while I was doing shit. That's a new one. That is a new one. But again, as I stated previously, all of these big Silicon Valley companies are gonna get fucked. Because, needless to say, all of the Indian CEOs are not going to do a good job.
If they can ship the device in as clean of a state and as ready to go of a state as possible.
Oh, the Indians are actually really good at tech and shit. Why does India not have a single tech company then if they're so good? Strange. Why?
Where it's just plug and play and you don't have to mess around with too much stuff, then we could be looking at something, but there's not a whole lot of confidence on that front, and that's something that Xbox has to work really hard on. Windows Central itself highlights in the report how Project Helix will essentially be a gaming PC with the Xbox full screen experience from the Xbox Ally handheld at its front end, and Microsoft is apparently working around the clock to make the Xbox full screen experience for a PC feel as close to a polished console experience as possible. But really, only time will tell. And at the end of the day, the fact that Windows is still the foundation of this operating system makes this all very disconcerting. It's not like a version of Windows specifically tailored for gaming. This is just straight up a PC. Now, the article here talks about how this will be the most open Xbox ever, how you'll be able to boot up the Windows desktop if you want from here, install other PC stores such as Steam, Epic Games, GOG, Riot Client, Battle.net, and much more, and play all of those on this new Xbox. In theory, you'll also be able to install Adobe Premiere, Steam Labs, and other content creation tools, and just any software that really runs on Windows 11. But presenting this as like, oh my gosh, this console will allow you to do everything, is just another way of basically saying that what they're ultimately shipping is just a PC. We have to dispel the notion that Xbox is breaking new ground unless they show features that break new ground in this hybridization of consoles. And
does anyone believe Microsoft is gonna actually do anything useful? At this point, how many years it has been since Microsoft has legitimately improved any aspect of anything that they have had? I don't know how many, but I mean, there's a reason there was this golden time of an era when you used Skype and you just didn't update it because every update made it worse and worse and worse and worse. And the same thing with Windows happened at one point. And this has been the Microsoft thing. Like, tech-savvy people don't update that fucking Microsoft shit because every update makes it worse. So I wonder how long it's been since the last time Microsoft did something that was actually pro-consumer and did something good.
PCs, because so far it's just sounding like they're shipping a PC with a front end. And one thing that I'm concerned about is the price point of this machine, because of the fact that it can no longer be subsidized as much as the Xbox could, because once upon a time Xbox followed a traditional console model where they would ship exclusives for that.
What do you mean fucking subsidized, Young? Why are you using words that you have no fucking understanding of? Subsidized means that someone is giving you money to make that thing happen. Xbox is not subsidizing shit.
Console and be the software sales, the exclusive sales that would subsidize the cost of the hardware. It allowed them to kind of decrease the price point of the Xbox
That's
console.
not how that
but now
works.
With this basically being a PC and it being able to play every game that is in any PC.
But granted, I'm expecting too much from a failed voice actor.
storefront, I have to wonder whether this is a machine that they can subsidize, and if not, given that they're pursuing a very different model from traditional consoles, how much will this machine cost, especially with the ongoing shortage and inflation of RAM and SSDs and GPUs and you name it. Now, one advantage that Project Helix as a PC can have over other PCs is the fact that every unit of Helix that is shipped will all have basically the exact same specs. Maybe there will be multiple.
Do you think Helix is gonna be like extremely self-assured, self-pushy, like that? I think it will be.
SKUs, some that have more, like storage space than others, or some that are more powerful than others in the way that Xbox Series X and Xbox Series.
Also, if this is supposed to be a PC, then are we allowed to actually upgrade it? Then why the fuck do I even... If this is supposed to be a PC, why the fuck would I even buy it? I'm confused. I'm confused. Why would I give Microsoft money to buy a PC if I can just buy a better PC myself and for less of a price, probably? I'm so confused. And for what? To have Xbox on it? Can I just not download Xbox something gaming right now if I feel like it on my PC? I'm so confused. What is the appeal of this shit except not knowing that you have alternatives? I don't know what is the appeal of this unless you're 10 years old and you're asking your mom to buy you the new Xbox because you're a child that doesn't know anything. And even then, if your mom decides to do that, she's probably checking in with someone in the family who actually does gaming, and then they say, oh, that's fucking stupid. So, what is the appeal of this even? What is the point?
S did, but it's not going to be a whole lot of variety. With traditional style gaming PCs, specs kind of range across a wide spectrum, but with this Project Helix, even though shipping games on Project Helix will basically be shipping a game for PC, they can optimize the games.
I'm sure Microsoft will find a way to ruin that.
To run as best as possible on the very specific specs of Project Helix, so it'll be PC games that will maybe potentially have like a Helix setting. In the same way that when Steam Deck launched, because that is still one spec that everyone got to utilize for those who purchased Steam Deck, and it got popular enough that a lot of people adopted it, developers started coming out with things like a Steam Deck like setting preset for their games. So the potential for better optimization, because Project Helix is going to be a gaming PC with one set of specs, or just a handful at most, again akin to Series X and Series S, it may very well be that Helix will pave the road for really optimized PC gaming, but at the same time, no doubt.
Surely it will. Surely it will. I'm sure they're not gonna fuck it up, Young. I'm so sure. Anyway, that was Young. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Bye.